Hey, freedom lovers, it's William Moore, and you are watching Beyond the Ties That Bind. Thanks for joining me for this episode, and I hope that everyone is having as good of a day as you can possibly have, living in the shadow of oppression and tyranny. Now, we're going to look at numbers today, and the numbers that I want to look at are the inflated numbers. And I also want to look at how the government is getting their numbers, because if you look at how the government's getting their numbers and you listen to the people in the White House on the nightly news, the way that they're getting their numbers, we don't know if 2 people have died of coronavirus. We don't know if 1 person, we don't know if none, we don't know if 20, if 30 have died of coronavirus, because if they have an underlying condition, which is the cause of death, as they say, an alternate cause of death, but they have COVID-19 at the time of death, they're going to be counted as a COVID death. So they're inflating the numbers all so they can carry out this economic collapse, make an assault on freedom and assault on humanity. And that's what this is. They want to take away everything that you have. They want to destroy your ability to feed your family. They want to destroy your livelihood, destroying small businesses, destroying jobs. Oh yeah, they're going to create some jobs as contact tracers, but they're not going to be able to make up for all the millions of jobs which are being destroyed, which are being lost. I mean, what are they going to do? Put a contact tracer in every home? So, the numbers are being inflated. The numbers are being manipulated, not just inflated, but manipulated. So please like, share, and subscribe, and share this video with all those people who may have their heads still in the sand and don't know what's going on and don't know how the government is manipulating the numbers. This is how they're doing it.
There are other countries that if you had a pre-existing condition, and let's say the virus caused you to go to the ICU and then have a heart or kidney problem, some countries are recording that as a heart issue or a kidney issue and not a COVID-19 death. Right now, we're still recording it, and the great thing about having forms that come in and a form that has the ability to mark it as COVID-19 infection, the intent is right now that if someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that.
If someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that, even though they died of something else. Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, leukemia, skydiving accident, car accident, falling out of a tree. They're manipulating the numbers, and they're doing it on purpose to bring about an economic collapse. The central banking cartel, working through their crime syndicate known as the federal government, is manipulating the numbers so they can shut down the economy. James Bullard stated, he is the president of the St. Louis Federal Reserve, that this is a planned shutdown of the economy. Then you had Pompeo come on television during a news conference at the White House stating that this was a live exercise. And then over in the corner, Trump says, well, I wish you would have told me that. All of this is planned. This is the largest false flag ever in the history of mankind. We already sacrificed so many freedoms at the altar of 9/11. This is the final shovel of dirt. Forget final nail in the coffin. They've already nailed the coffin shut. This is the final shovel of dirt. Unless we do something about it and stand up. So get this information out to people. Because not only did Deborah Birx say what she said, but Dr. Ezike, the director of the Illinois Department of Health, had this to say. And what she said is very telling.
Illinois' virus-related death toll continues to climb. The director of public health took time today to explain how the department rules someone an actual COVID death. It can be a little confusing. She says anyone who has COVID when they pass away will be included in that category. Dr. Ngozi Ezike explained this does not mean the virus caused that death, but if someone does test positive for COVID before dying, that is classified a coronavirus fatality.
You were in hospice and had already been given, a few weeks to live, and then you also were found to have COVID, that would be counted as a COVID death. It means that if technically, even if you died of clear alternate cause, but you had COVID at the same time, it's still listed as a COVID death. So everyone who's listed as a COVID death doesn't mean that that was the cause of the death, but they had COVID at the time of death.
And Dr. Ezike also said one of the health department's top priorities, of course, is continuing to best protect the most vulnerable and immunocompromised groups. Illinois.
So, Dr. Ezike states that even if you die of a clear alternate cause, but have COVID-19 at the time of death, it's still going to be classified as a COVID-19 death. So they're manipulating the numbers so they can keep the numbers inflated, so they can carry on this charade with the lockdowns, with shutting down businesses, with the fear porn, with keeping people locked in their homes, with people wearing masks so they can go and they can look and see who's being compliant, who's an order follower. You know, Orwell couldn't even imagine what we're going through today. We have terms that are beyond Orwellian. You have social distancing, contact tracing, social credit score. What else are they going to come up with next? So you have all of these numbers. And even right now, the provisional death count, and this was updated May 18th, 2020, is 62,518. Where is all the fear? Where is all the concern over this death count for pneumonia? 83,333. And then seasonal influenza has dropped off the chart altogether. How did it get this low? Maybe this number here should be counted in with this. If you take 6,180 and you add it to 62,515, you're going to come up with 68,695. Now, that sounds like a possible count for seasonal influenza. Possible death count for seasonal influenza. So, but they are lying to us. And then if you go to Fox News and you go to the fear porn map, and the fear porn map will tell us that there's 89,874 people dead. However, that's a big discrepancy because the CDC is saying 62,515. Go back here, 89,874, then you have total confirmed 1,496,509. Now, that's confirmed, but that's presumed. That's really not confirmed because the PCR tests do not work. They cannot isolate, identify. They cannot reintroduce the virus into tissue and then see the virus basically morph or mutate again. So we don't even know if the confirmed case count is correct because you got a lot of false positives with the testing. And then not only that, you had some of the coronavirus tests which were contaminated with coronavirus. But anyway, there's a major discrepancy. 89,874, 62,515. I mean, you're talking pretty close to 27,000 person difference. I mean, this number here, they're saying that they're getting it from the CDC and the WHO. And I don't think that's Roger Daltrey, Peter Townsend, John Entwistle, and Keith Moon. I think that's the World Health Organization, Rockefeller Organization. So if we take a trip back in time, it says that Elvis was king. That's a lie. Elvis was not king. There's only one king. Elvis is a sodomite. Ike was president. And 116,000 Americans died in a pandemic. The year was 1957. Elvis's new movie Jailhouse Rock was packing the theaters. The last episode of I Love Lucy aired on television. The show West Side Story held tryouts in Washington, D.C. and opened on Broadway in September. Ford's new car, the Edsel, rolled off the assembly line. The Cold War with Russia was on, and In God We Trust, but they don't mean Elohim of Scripture, they mean God, government. In God We Trust appeared on U.S. currency. The first Toys R Us store opened. Also that year, the so-called Asian flu killed 116,000 Americans. Here's the full summary from the Center for Disease Control. In February of 1957, a new influenza A, H2 H2N2 virus emerged in East Asia, triggering a pandemic, Asian flu. This H2N2 virus was comprised of 3 different genes from an H2N2 virus that originated from an avian flu. A virus including the H2 hemagglutinin and the N2 neuraminidase genes. And I probably butchered those words, I'm sorry. It was first reported in Singapore in February 1957, Hong Kong in April 1957, and in coastal cities in the United States in summer of 1957. The estimated number of deaths was 1.1 million worldwide and 116,000 in the United States. Now, pay attention to this, close attention. Like the current pandemic, there was a demographic pattern to the deaths. It hit the elderly population with heart and lung disease. In a frightening twist, the virus could also be fatal for pregnant women. The infection rate was probably even higher than the Spanish flu of 1918. 675,000 Americans died from this, but this lowered the overall case fatality rate to 0.67%. A vaccine became available in late 1957, but was not widely distributed. The United States population at the time was 172 million, which is a little more than half of the current population. Life expectancy was 69 versus 78 today. Even with shorter lives, it was a healthier population with lower rates of obesity. To extrapolate the data to counterfactual, we can conclude that this virus was more wicked than COVID-19 thus far. When we look back at this year, nothing was shut down. Restaurants, schools, theaters, sporting events, travels, everything continued without interruption, without a 24-hour news cycle, with thousands of news agencies and a billion websites hungry for traffic. Most people paid no attention other than to keep basic hygiene. It was covered in the press as a medical problem. The notion that there was a political solution never occurred to anyone. And don't we wish that the notion that there was a political solution never occurred to anyone today, such as Fauci, who came out in the beginning of this and said, oh, if we social distance, if we lock everything down, we can keep the death toll to 200,000. And that was his conservative estimate. Well, Dr. Fauci, we're only at 62,515. Fauci wanted to keep everyone locked indoors for about 4 months, where you couldn't even come out, where you could only go to the grocery store on a specific day. We're being lied to, numbers are being manipulated, all so they can destroy the economy, plan destruction of the economy, so they can destroy your way of life, so they can make an assault on our freedom, so they can destroy everyone's identity. No longer will you be an individual, you'll just be a brick in the wall. You'll just be doing their bidding, working for them, a worker bee. And they're going to eat your honey and keep you working. So, if you look at these numbers, 89,874. I mean, and then you have, even this is a high number. If we go to the high number here, it's not what Fauci said. And then if you look back at what Dr. Ezike and Deborah Birx said, we don't know if this number's true. We don't even know if 74 people have died of coronavirus. And then if you go back to 1957, the population, they say, was 172 million. I just figured it 175 million. And you take 116,000 people. Now, we're not going for case fatality rate. We're going for the overall death rate. But 175 million people. So you take 116,000, divide by 175 million, you get 0.066% of the population. Now, today you have 328 million people. And let's go to this number. Let's even use this number because this is the number I use. You go to deaths with pneumonia, influenza, or COVID-19. And I don't know how they get this number of 123,593, because if you take 83,333 and you add 62,515, you're going to get about 145,848. So 123,593. And if you then divide that by 328 million, you get a death rate, not a case fatality rate, but a death rate of 0.037%. That does not justify the shutdowns. That does not justify the lockdowns. That does not justify social distancing, wearing a mask, ratting out your neighbors. Doesn't justify social credit score. Doesn't justify the surveillance we're going to have, the contact tracing. Doesn't justify any of that. We're being lied to. Numbers manipulated just so they can destroy you, destroy your way of life, destroy everything that you know, everything that you hold dear. They want to take away property. They want to take away everything. No freedom whatsoever. They want to control your movement, control who you see, where you go, possibly who you marry, what you buy. They want to turn this into communist China. We're living in the country, like Jimmy Dore stated the other day, we're living in the country that we were told when we were growing up Russia was. That's exactly what we're living in today. And then you have Kumu. He's killing 5,000 senior citizens because he's not allowing, he's sending them back to nursing homes. And, I'm just going to read this real quick here. At first, Kumo blamed the number on the families who continued to rely on long-term care facilities. Now is not the best time to put your mother in a nursing home, he said last month. And the facts are, he blamed the healthcare system for trying to preserve as many hospital beds as possible. They didn't need all the hospital beds they thought they were going to need. And, he was forcing nursing homes to accept COVID-19 patients, and that was disastrous. And he finally revised the policy over the weekend. Now hospitals cannot discharge a person who is COVID positive to a nursing home, and they must test every patient they discharge. Only those who test negative can now be referred to nursing homes. And that should have been the policy from the get-go. Could have saved some of those 5,000 lives. I'm sure that's just a flu virus. It might be a certain type of coronavirus, but people die of the flu. You put people back in nursing homes who have the flu, and you're going to cause havoc. So, this is a complete cluster. So, people need to wake up. So, get this information out to as many people as possible. Because what we're dealing with, it's what one of my favorite people of all time said. There are lies, damn lies, and statistics. Until next time, this is William Moore for Beyond the Ties That Bind. Love each and every one of you. Until we meet again, peace.